everyone, and welcome to the month of August. I cannot believe that already 7 months have gone by this year in 2025, which is a little scary if you think about how there's only 5 months left of the year. But then again, I'm super looking forward to what 2026 has in stock for us. So let's keep up the good work until the end of the year. So if you haven't taken a look at last month's video yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Last video, we talked about how to do research and what kind of resources to look for when we're doing research, which types of resources are good to use, which types of resources are not so good to use, also why you shouldn't use Wikipedia when you're doing research, and which part of Wikipedia is actually good to incorporate into your essays. So today we're going to talk about how to use these sources in your essays in the form of citations. So again, if you haven't watched the video from July, please do so because today we're going to be really building on top of what we discussed last month. So when we talk about citations, there are many different styles out there. There's the APA style, MLA, Chicago, Harvard. But for the most part, the two styles that you're going to see the most often are the APA and the MLA format. So the APA format is generally used for the science fields like natural science, physical science, and social sciences. So for example, if you're writing an essay on psychology, then you would most likely be using the APA style. And then the MLA citing style is used for essays on human society, culture, humanities, historical literature, and arts. So for this essay, I'm going to ask you to work with the MLA style format. Even though some of the essay topics are going to be trickling a little bit into the scientific aspect of things, I still would like you to start off with training yourself with the MLA style. So if you would like, you could take a pause at this screen right here to take a closer look at how the APA style differs from the MLA style. But if you're not too familiar with citation as a whole yet, this chart might kind of mean nothing to you. So in that case, I suggest that you continue watching the video until the end, and once you kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of how citations work, come back to this page and then take a look at how these two styles differ. And so last video, what I asked you guys to do is to ignore the in-text citations, which is, as it sounds like, right? Citation inside the text, usually done with the parentheses, and kind of dissolve it into your sentences by starting off the sentence with the author's name, according to so-and-so who was a whatever. And so for today, we're going to focus on how to actually use these parentheses in your essays. So if you look at the two in-text citations here, you see the author's last name followed by a comma and followed by the publication year of whatever source this was. Now, this is actually, in fact, the APA format. And so we're going to take a look at what the MLA format is going to look like and how it's different. So here I've written an example paragraph. So this is what an essay using the MLA format, the MLA style would look like. Now, the real MLA style essay would actually incorporate a little bit more detail than this. It has a few more factors and elements to it, but I'm not going to go into detail for that because that's not the purpose of this particular lesson. All you need to know is that the MLA format is usually double spaced. It has the title at the center of the page, and it uses in-text citation with parentheses. Usually for MLA in-text citation format, you would have the author's last name followed by a page number of the book that you use to get this information. But it's 2025 and not that many people are using hard copy books anymore for research. We're all using the internet, this wonderful creation of man, to conduct our research. So a lot of the times the author's last name is going to be enough. Now, at the very end of your essay, as the very last page, you're going to have a works cited page, which lists all of your sources that you used for your research. And so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this, but right now you can see that each piece of information I used from an outside source is listed in the works cited page. So let's take a look at how the works cited page works, basically. So when you're listing your resources, what you have to pay attention to is the order in which all of the information is listed. So first you start off with the author's last name, followed by the author's first name, separated by a comma, and then the name ends with the period, followed by the title of your website, which is put in double quotation marks. Also ending with the period, and pay attention to the fact that the period is inside of the quotation mark. So it's not quotation mark period, but it's in fact period quotation mark. So this is correct and this is not correct. Then it is followed by the name of the website. So not just the name of the page that you're on, like the article that you're on, but the name of the entire website. So in this example, it was a title of a magazine, so Time is in italics. Followed by a comma and then the date of publishing, which is then followed by the URL of the website that you used. Now, in a case that there's a website article that was published and it's legit, but there is no author that's attributed to it. In that case, what you do is you just completely skip over the author part and you start off straight with the title of the article. And that's what we see here, right? The second one in my example that I made, the second resource right here is missing an author name. And so this is to say that this particular article had no author attributed, and so I just went straight into listing the website article title. Now, there are a ton of free websites that help you generate the bibliography and the works cited page for your essays. So these websites are super easy to use. You choose website as the type of resource that you used, and then if you put in the URL to the website that you use and click on search or process or whatever it may be, it does the work for you and it finds the title of the article, the name of the author, when it was published, the name of the website, etc., etc. But because this is a machine doing work for you, you cannot guarantee that it's going to be all correct and accurate all the time. In fact, a lot of the times there's like an error in one way or another. For example, some of the mistakes by these websites that I've experienced in my own work and research when writing papers is that this website would wrongly think that there is no author and list the name of the entire website as the author, when in fact the article actually does have an author's name that this generator missed. So that's why you really need to familiarize yourself with this order of listing information about a resource so that after you generate the works cited page with this website or any kind of other websites out there, you can copy and paste the list generated by this kind of website and then go back and check if each of the information is correct. Now, this is what the works cited page would look like as like an entire page. So keep in mind that the works cited page should be its own separate page, always, always, always. So let's say, for example, that your essay ended like mid-page right here. That does not mean that you begin the works cited page right after. No. So if your essay ends here, then you do the Control-Enter function to start an entirely new page, and that's how you do the works cited page. So just a couple of things to note here. In an MLA style essay, you have to keep 1-inch margins on all three sides, which is the top, left, and right. You also need to make sure that, everything is double spaced, as we discussed earlier. But make sure that you do not add additional line space between entries. So notice how the space between these two lines is exactly the same as the space between these two lines. Even though this is one resource and this is another resource, it does not change how much space there are between each line. Another thing to pay attention to is you should use a hanging indentation for citations that are more than one line. So for the works cited page, we don't list our resources like 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, right? It just begins with either the author's name or the website page name. And so to be able to kind of make it easier for us to see where one resource starts and where it ends, that's why we do the hanging indentation. Let's say that this particular website was like really, really, really long, and then it carried over to the third line, right? That would mean that this third line would also need to match the second line and be indented inwards. As you should be adding periods within the citations wherever necessary, do not forget to add them also at the very end. This is something that is overlooked quite often by students. They always remember to put periods in the middle of their citations, but always forget, well, not always, but often forget to add them at the very end as well. That's kind of all you need to pay attention to for this one. Again, when you use the citation generator resources that are online, most of them do create this format for you automatically. But again, sometimes they make mistakes, and that's why you need to know the rules and how this works and how it should look like, so that once these generators do make the mistakes, you can catch them and fix them manually. So after you create the works cited page with the proper indentations and the proper quotation marks and other kinds of punctuation, the correct font usage, whether it's italics or not. After you do all of that, the last thing that you have to do is to put them alphabetically. So in this case, even though these three are in alphabetical order, right? K comes before P and J comes before Y. So these three are in alphabetical order. This article title that begins with an A should be at the very top. It doesn't matter if you're missing an author's name or if you have multiple authors. You just make sure that everything is in alphabetical order. So now that we've taken a look at the works cited page, let's take a closer look at how to actually put in the author's names into your actual essay. So this particular sentence is an example showing how to do an in-text citation if you were using a book for your research. So if you are using a book, like an actual hard copy book, right, or an ebook, just anything with page numbers on it, you would have the author's last name followed by the page number. No punctuation in the middle, in between, right, just a space. However, as we said before, it's 2025. Rarely anyone is using hard copy books anymore. And so in this day and age, when you're using websites which don't have page numbers, you would just skip the page number and just write the author's last name. So as you see here, if it's a website with no page number, you would just put the author's last name and that's it. If your website source doesn't have an author, like the second example that we saw in the example works cited page, you would obviously skip the author's name because there is no author's name, and you would go straight into the article title. So if there are two authors with the same last name for two different sources that you want to use, in that case, you would put the initial of the first name of the author followed by the last name. If by any chance they end up having the same initial as well, then you would just write out their full first name, right? So like Alexander Caesar or something like that, and Alice Caesar. And if you're using multiple online sources by the same author, writing the author's first name won't help you out because it's literally the same person. So in this case, what you do is you write the author's last name, followed by a comma, and then like a shortened version of the website title. It doesn't have to be the entire thing. It could just be the first few words for the readers to be able to differentiate which website it is. So in this case, it's César, how to train. Instead of writing the full thing, right? Like how to train your dog, just how to train, or even like how to could work only if none of the other resources that you're using by the same author starts off with how to as well. And then maybe the next one could be just César, positive. So all of this is pretty straightforward, right? Only things that you have to really note here is that for each one, the period goes on the very outside of each in-text citation. So now that we've taken a look at both the works cited page, how that works, and also the in-text citation and how that works, hopefully this example page will make more sense to you. For this particular example, we have used 4 different resources. And of course, this one should be at the very top because of the alphabetical ordering issue. And you see the in-text citation all correctly corresponding to each resource used. Because Una Park and James Park have the same last name. If you just wrote Park and Park, you wouldn't be able to tell which information is from which author, which is why you would put in the initial of the author's first name for each of these in-text citations. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward for you guys. This works cited page is probably the most difficult, but again, there are free websites out there that help you generate the correct format. All you have to know and keep in mind is the ordering of the information that you are to put in and how they look like, right? Is there a comma? Is there a period? Are there double quotation marks? Is it in italics? And so as long as you kind of remember how it's supposed to look and just cross-reference the automatically generated list with the actual pages of your sources, then you should be good to go. All right, so for this month's topics, it's not going to be like an argumentative essay per se. It's going to be more a general research essay. Now, for last month's topics, I asked you to include at least 1 piece of research. For this month, you're going to be including at least 2, if not more. And also for this month, you are going to be adding a works cited page at the very end of your essay. I know that on the KNS writing website, you guys are writing directly into the text box in there, which means that it's going to be impossible to put it in like a separate page. But for the sake of this essay, you can add the works cited section at the very end of your essay in the same text box. So the first topic is about the future of renewable energy technologies. So solar panels, wind turbines, and electric cars are just the beginning. There are a ton of other renewable energy technologies out there that are being developed, that have already launched, and that are being imagined by scientists. So I want you to research what those technologies are and write an essay. The second topic is about the evolution of democracy throughout history. So democracy has evolved significantly over the centuries, and I want you to detail this evolution, what happened in other countries in the past, what steps different societies took so that democracy today looks like what it is. And the third topic would be about the role of youth in political movements. Young people are powerful when it comes to historical and current political movements. So research historical events that incorporated young people to lead a revolution or activism or anything like that. And the fourth topic is about mental health issues among teenagers. We should explore the many factors leading to an increased incidence of mental health issues in teens, from academics to Instagram or other types of social media, and everything in between. So this is not an argumentative essay. You know, it's really just your chance to practice doing your research and practice dissolving your research into your writing in the correct format, which is, by the way, the MLA format for this essay. And along with everything that we've discussed today, please don't forget what we talked about last month in terms of what sources are good to use, what are not to use, how to use research, etc., etc. So that's it for today, and good luck on your research. As always, I look forward to reading your essays. All right, thank you. Bye.